I want to tell you about a man named Rob Hall. Rob Hall was, by every measure that matters on a mountain, one of the most qualified high-altitude climbers who ever lived. He had summited Everest 5 times. 5 times. He knew that mountain the way you know your own face in the mirror. He had guided dozens of clients to the top of the world and brought every single one of them home safely. And he had a rule, a turnaround time. 2 p.m. no matter what. No matter how close the summit looked, no matter how good you felt, no matter how much you had sacrificed to get there, if you hadn't summited by 2 p.m., you turn around, you go back down. The mountain will be there next year. You have to be there too. He taught that rule to every client he ever guided. He believed it with everything he had. On May 10th, 1996, Rob Hall broke his own rule. He had a client named Doug Hansen, a postal worker, a regular guy, someone who had saved for years for this one climb, who had turned back the previous year just 300 feet from the summit, just 300 feet. And Rob Hall, who loved this man, who couldn't bear to watch him fall short again, who felt in his chest the weight of everything Doug had given to get back to this mountain, let them push past at 2 p.m. They summited at 4 p.m. A storm moved in that night that has been called one of the worst in Everest's recorded history. Rob Hall died on that mountain. Doug Hansen died on that mountain. Not because Rob Hall wasn't skilled enough, not because he didn't know the rule, not because he didn't believe in the rule, because something older and deeper and more human than any rule took over at 6,000 feet. And the rule, the one that he had taught to others, the one that he had enforced on previous expeditions, the one he believed in completely, didn't stand a chance. I need you to sit with that for a moment, because that story isn't about Everest. That story is about you. That story is about every trader who has ever known exactly when to get out and stayed in anyway. Every trader who has ever watched the loss grow past the stop and whispered to themselves, it'll come back. Every trader who has ever sat at the desk after 2 losing trades and opened a 3rd one, knowing it was wrong. The rule existed, the knowledge existed, the experience existed, and something took over anyway. That something, that is what this series is about. And today, right now, we're going to start talking about what it actually is. I'm Devin. And if you found this video, if the title made you stop scrolling, if something in you recognized what I just described, I want you to know something before we go any further. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not undisciplined. You are not someone who should give up and go do something safer and find out something else to do with their money and their time and their hope. You are a skilled, intelligent, genuinely capable human being who has been climbing one of the hardest mountains in the world without the gear that actually keeps people alive up here. Not the strategy courses, not the trading psychology books, not the YouTube videos about discipline, mindset, and rule following. Nobody gave you the gear that matters most. And I know what that gear is because I've been on this mountain. I've made wrong calls at altitude. I know what it feels like when something takes over and the rule doesn't stand a chance. I know the specific quality of shame that follows. I know the journal entry, some version of, I did it again, I have to stop, tomorrow will be different, blah, 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 written more times than you can count. I know. And I'm not here as an expert looking at you from a comfortable distance. I'm here as someone who has been exactly where you are. and found a way through. And I want to share that with you. This series is called The Climb Home. And it is built on one idea that I want to give you right now, right at the start, so you can carry it through everything that follows. The market is not the mountain. The market is just the terrain. The mountain, the one that is actually asking everything of you, is the climb from wounded trader to healed one. And like Everest, this mountain demands everything. It has humbled people who were overconfident. It has broken people who were underprepared. It has killed people like Rob Hall, who were genuinely, extraordinarily skilled and didn't make it home. It has rewarded slowly, honestly, without shortcuts, the ones who were willing to do the thing that every course, every book, every trading psychology video skips entirely. The work of knowing yourself. That is the gear, and that is exactly what we're going to build together. Here's what the trading world has been telling you. You have a discipline problem. You need better rules, stricter plan, more accountability, a trading journal, a checklist, hard stops that you can't override. And I'm going to say this as gently, but as directly as I know how. That advice is not wrong. Rules matter, structure matters. A solid trading plan matters enormously, but here is what no one is telling you. You cannot discipline your way out of a wound. Oh, you can white knuckle it for a while. You can follow the rules on the good days, the calm days, the well-slept days, the days when the market is behaving and your nervous system is regulated and everything feels manageable. But the mountain doesn't care about your good days. The mountain tests you on the hard ones, the 2 lost mornings, the slow Tuesdays when nothing is moving and you've been staring at that screen for 3 hours, the weeks when the account is down and the bills are real and the voice in the back of your mind is saying things you would never say out loud. On those days, the days that actually count, the rules don't hold. Not because you're weak. Because the rules were never designed to address what's actually happening. What's actually happening, what has always been happening underneath the overtrading and the revenge trading and the blown stops and the inability to walk away is this. There is a part of you that is very young and very frightened and completely convinced that the market can give it something it has needed for a very long time. Safety, proof, relief, the feeling, however brief, of being enough. That part of you doesn't care about your trading plan. It doesn't speak the language of rules and discipline and risk management. It speaks the language of survival, of old fear, of needs that were never met in a world that no longer exists, but your nervous system never got the update about that. And until you know that part of you, until you can recognize it, understand it, meet it with something other than another rule that it's going to break, you will keep climbing the mountain without the gear that helps keep you alive up here. The good news, and I mean this completely, the good news is that the gear exists, and that's exactly what this series is going to give you. Every serious Everest expedition works through a series of base camps. You don't go straight to the summit. Nobody does, not even the best, most elite climbers in the world. You establish base camp 1. You acclimate yourself to the altitude. You let your body adjust to it. You go up and you come back down. You respect the mountain's timeline, not yours. Then base camp 2, then 3, then 4. Then, when you're ready, when the preparation is real and the conditions are right, the summit. This series has 4 base camps. And I want you to know that the work at each camp is real It asks something genuine of you. The mountain doesn't give up its altitude to people who are in a hurry. But here's what I promise. Every camp gives you something you didn't have before. A different view, a deeper understanding, a new piece of gear, a closer relationship with the mountain and with yourself on it. Base Camp 1 is where most traders spend their entire careers. It's a place of, I broke my rules, I need more discipline, tomorrow will be different. We're going to spend real time here because you can't climb past a camp you haven't truly understood. Base 2 is where you start to see the patterns, not just what you did, but when, under what conditions, with what emotional weather present. This camp feels like a breakthrough, and it is. It's also not the destination, and we're going to talk about why. Base Camp 3 is where the real work lives, where we follow the thread all the way back, past this morning, past this week, past the trading career entirely, to where the wound actually started. This is the camp that changes everything, and the one nobody else is taking you to. Base Camp 4. We call this one the Healing Fool, and I'll tell you more about it when we get there. For now, I'll just say it requires something that none of the other camps require: the courage not to know. We'll get there together. But today, right now, we're starting at the bottom, the way every great climb starts at base camp, with the question nobody wants to ask. And I want you to actually sit with it, not answer it quickly, not file it away as something to think about later. What were you actually trying to get from the last trade you know was wrong? Not the money. I know about the money. I mean, underneath the money, underneath the setup that wasn't really a setup, underneath the revenge trade, underneath the one you took 20 minutes after you said you were done for the day. What were you really reaching for? What did it feel like the trade was going to give you if it worked? Was it relief from something that had been sitting in your chest all morning that had nothing to do with the market? Was it proof that you're good enough, smart enough, that this time, you've got it figured out? Was it safety? The feeling, however brief, that if you could just get the account back to where it was, everything would be okay? Or was it something quieter than all of those, something you don't quite even have the words for yet? You don't have to answer that out loud, not yet, but I want you to know that that question has an answer, a real one, a specific one that belongs entirely to you and your history and the very particular way your nervous system learned to reach for the market when it needed something else entirely. And finding that answer, really finding it, not the surface version, but the true one, is the most important thing you will ever do in your trading. More important than any strategy, any indicator, any rule. Because the traders who keep blowing up accounts aren't failing because of bad strategies. They're failing because they're trying to meet a 20-year-old need with a futures contract. And the market, I say this with complete love, is spectacularly unsuited for that job. Rob Hall knew the turnaround time. He knew it better than almost anyone who has ever set foot on that mountain. And something he hadn't fully examined in himself, a deep, genuine love for a client who had come so far and fallen so short. A need, quiet, human, completely understandable. To not be the one who called it. To not be the one who turned Doug Hansen around 300 feet from the summit again. That something wasn't a flaw. It wasn't weakness. It wasn't a failure of character. It was human, completely, heartbreakingly human. And the mountain doesn't make exceptions for human. The traders I work with, the ones who find their way to this work, to this series, to the community we're building around this very specific kind of healing, they're not bad traders. They are not undisciplined people. They are not failures. They are Rob Hall, skilled, experienced, genuinely knowledgeable, and carrying something unexamined that overrides what they know at exactly the wrong moment. The work we do together, the work this series is not about becoming a different trader. It's about finally examining what Rob Hall never got the chance to examine. So that when you're at 26,000 feet and the loss is mounting and the rule is right there and everything in you wants to push past the turnaround time, you know exactly what's happening. And you have the gear to choose differently. Before the next episode, I want to give you something. Not homework. I'm not your teacher grading your journal entries. And God, not another rule. You've got enough of those. I want to give you your first piece of gear. Every climber who attempts Everest goes through medical assessment before they're allowed on the mountain. Not to disqualify them, not to judge them, to know them, to understand what they're working with, where their strengths are, where their vulnerabilities are, and what this particular body and this particular nervous system can handle at altitude. This is your first assessment. 3 questions, 1 trade, 15 minutes. Find somewhere away from the desk, away from the screen, somewhere quiet and private where you can be completely honest. Get something to write on, paper if you can, because there's something about a pen and paper for this kind of work. Think of 1 trade. You already know which one. It's the one that came to mind the moment I said that. The one you already know was the wrong trade. Yeah, that one. And write honestly, not for anyone else, not as a trade review, not for performance analysis, just for you. 3 questions in this order. The order matters. Question 1. What did it feel like in your body right before you took that trade? Not what did you think, not what did you see on the chart, what did it feel like in your body? Where was it? In your chest, your stomach, your jaw, your hands, your throat? Was it tight or hollow or hot or buzzing? Did it have a weight to it, a texture? I know this feels strange. I know it does. But most of us have spent years learning to ignore the body at the desk, to overwrite the physical signals and just execute. This question asks you to go back, to remember, to describe what was actually happening in your body in the moment before the click. Take your time. Be specific. There's no wrong answers here. Question 2. How old does that feeling make you feel? Not how old are you? How old that specific feeling, the one described, the one in the body. How old does it make you feel? Don't overthink it. The first number that comes to mind is almost always the right one. And I want to tell you, it will almost never be your actual age. It'll be younger, sometimes much younger. Whatever number comes to mind, just write it down, because that number is telling you something important. It's telling you the age of the part of you that was making that trading decision. Not the adult trader with the plan and the experience and the years behind them, the younger one. The one who learned something very specific about survival in a world that required it and never unlearned it. Write the number, just the number. We'll come back to it. Question 3. What did that part of you, the younger you, actually need in that moment? What was the trade trying to give them? Not what did you need from the market in terms of profit or recovery? What did the younger part need? Safety? Proof that you're enough? Relief from something that had been sitting in the chest all morning? To fix something that felt broken? To feel something when everything felt numb? To be right? when something else in your life was making you feel wrong. Write whatever comes, even if it doesn't make sense, even if it feels like a stretch, even if it brings up something you weren't expecting, especially then. You don't have to do anything with what you find out. Not yet. You don't have to share it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to turn it into a new rule or a new resolution or a new version of the journal entry you've already written 47 times. You just have to be honest. Because that honesty, that first real look at what's actually happening underneath the trade, is the first step off Base Camp 1. And Base Camp 1 is exactly where we are, which means you're already climbing. I want to say one more thing before I let you go. The traders who find their way to this work, the ones who are willing to ask these questions, to sit with the discomfort of really looking, to stay on the mountain even when the climb is hard, they're not the exception. They become the rule. Not just because they're more talented, not because they had easier wounds or gentler histories or less damage to work through, because they made a decision that most traders never make. They decided that the gap between knowing their rules and following them was worth understanding, not managing, not overriding, not white-knuckling through, understanding. And that decision, that one shift from fixing to understanding, changes everything. Well, not overnight, not without difficulty, but really, genuinely, in the body, in the nervous system, at the desk, on the hard days when the mountain is testing everything you have. You found this video for a reason. Maybe you've been on this mountain long enough that something in you recognizes the terrain. Whatever brought you here, I'm glad you're here. The series is called The Climb Home. That's where we're going. Back to yourself. To the trader and the person you were always capable of being before the wounds covered it over. That's the summit. And it has been waiting for you the whole time. This is Base Camp. It's warm here, it's safe here, and you don't have to climb alone anymore. I'll see you in the next video. Oh, and those 3 questions, don't skip them. The mountain rewards the ones who do the preparation. I'll see you soon.